Okay, excuse me, short video on Venn diagrams. So we already talked about tree diagrams, and a Venn diagram is another type of picture to help you organize the percents and probabilities that you get, okay? So please write down this information in your notes. So this is still chapter 15, Venn diagrams. So your book has 48% of pages have data, 27 have an equation, and 7% have actually both of them. Okay? All right, so the picture we're going to use is a Venn diagram. So this is what the Venn diagram looks like. Okay? So we have data, oops, is 48%. I'm not going to fill this in quite yet. And the equation has 27%. Okay. All right, so the Venn diagram represents, one of the circles represents data, the other circle represents the equation, and then the middle represents the overlap, all right, what is contained in both. And it also tells us that 7% is in it, 7% of the pages have data and equations, okay? So the way we do the diagram is if the circle represents all of the data, then we have to do one of two things. Either know that this is 48% and the overlap is 7, or we can just subtract and get that this piece is 41%. So this piece right here is 41%. Okay? So we do the same thing on the other side, that this equation, or the this percent is 20. Okay? And we know that that represents this piece right here. Okay? I think it's easier and is less confusing if you write down what is in just this space and then you have in the center what is the overlap. Okay, so this is what your Venn diagram looks like. So we have data is all of this, 48%. Equations are all of this, 27%. Okay, so let's answer the questions using that picture. Okay, what is the probability that a randomly selected page had neither a data display nor an equation? Okay, so what that means here is if I were to draw a box around all of this, what it means is this whole thing together is 1 or 100%. And what's in the middle here is it having data or an equation. So what we want for that first question is what is actually around the outside of this. So we're going to subtract out from 1 what is in these two circles. Let me say that again. So the blue on the outside represents the probability that it's going to be in either one or not at all. So that the whole thing together is 100%. And what we're subtracting out is what's in this middle part. Okay? So what we need to do is add up 41 and 7 and 20, because that's what's in here, and subtract it from 1. Okay? So 1 minus the union of all of these things. So the data, which is 41%, plus the intersection of the two, which is 7%, plus just the equations, which is the 20%. And that's going to give me what's around the outside. So 1 minus all of that together is 68%. So this is really 100 minus 68, right? So my answer is 32%. Okay, so in my picture, 32% is what is around the outside because I've subtracted it from 1. Okay. The next one, what is the probability that the randomly selected page had a data display but no equation? So here's where the picture comes in handy. A data display but no equation. Well, this whole circle represents equations, whether it's data and equations, and this is just equations. Okay, so the only part we want is this 41%. We don't want to include the 7 because that still has equations in it. So my answer to the second one is 41%, because I looked at the picture. Okay? All right, here's another example. So I would pause the video and draw the picture. So police report that 78% of drivers stopped on suspicion of drunk driving are given a breath test, 36% a blood test, and 22% both tests. Okay, so in my picture, I have 78% here. This is I forget what it was. I took notes, but I forgot. That is a breath test. Okay, so this is breath. And then 36% are given a blood test. and in the middle is 22% are given both. Okay, so on this side is 56%, and on this side is 14%. Okay, so now we can answer the questions. I'm just going to, if I draw this together, you can see that that is all the blood test side, and this is all the breath side. And we can see that this is what's both. Okay, all right, so the questions, here are the three. Okay, what is the probability that a randomly selected DWI suspect is given a test of any kind? So we add all of these together, the 56 and the 22 and the 14. If you just add the 78 and the 36 together, you have to subtract out the intersection. So that's why it's really easy to see it this way. Remember, this 56 is only this piece. 14% is this, and the 22. So you add them all up together. So it is 56 plus 22 plus 14, and we get 92%. Okay, a blood test or a breath test, but not both. Okay, so we don't include this intersection, so we want the 56 and the 14 because we're not including what's in the middle. So 56 plus 14, and we get 70%. Okay, last question, neither test. Okay, so now we want what's around the outside. Okay, so remember, big box represents 100%. Add all these up and subtract from 1. Well, we already added it all up in the first question, 92%. So neither test is 1 minus the 92%. We get 8% is given neither test. Okay, all right, we're going to go over this on Monday, and I'll give you some more practice problems, but that is the gist of Venn diagrams.